The sad reality about America's failures in Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq isn't that we lost the war. We didn't lose any of the battles that took place, but we failed in our intentions to set up democracy. And I'm not saying that the United States won any of these wars. These were abject failures. If the mission was just to flatten capitals and flatten armies, yes, okay, fine, we would have succeeded. But that wasn't what the government or the people really in charge wanted. What's horrifying and sad about what the United States did to these three countries was ship entire armies across the planet, take over countries, and then kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. And then they fail in their objective after a few years or several years. They just leave all of their equipment, all of the horrible stuff, do nothing about the piles and piles of dead bodies they caused, and then just go home and carry on business like nothing really happened. And while the entire world complains about it, nobody stops doing business with the United States. In fact, business ends up increasing. Now, the crazy thing about Vietnam is that the excuse was that communism had to be stopped no matter what, because if it spread in Vietnam, for some reason, it would spread all around the world, which was nonsense. For 20 years, the US devoted a lot of its resources to trying to curtail the growth of communism in that country. And I believe for a couple generations at least, America was looked upon as the great evil by the people of Vietnam. Yet, what is going on today? 2025, 52 years after the conclusion of the war. Sorry, not 52, 50 years. So 50 years after the US pulls out of Vietnam, we have most favored trading nation status with that country, along with China. And Vietnam is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and they have shifted towards a more capitalistic stance in their economy while still maintaining some kind of trade and positive relationship with China. But the US cannot say that about Iraq and Afghanistan. For one, the US is the reason why the Taliban is still in power. We armed them in their war against Russia when they invaded Afghanistan in 1979. They eventually came to power decades later, and then we ended up attacking that country, taking out the Taliban, staying there for well over a decade, and now the Taliban's back. And the same can be said for Iraq. We put Saddam Hussein in power in the late 1970s, and then by 1991, he became public enemy number one. And then after 2001, when we had zero evidence that they had weapons of mass destruction or had any dealings with terrorist activities in the United States, we invaded that country and toppled a very brutal and horrible, but a stable regime. And now Iraq is still quite a mess because, of course, US involvement. And the crazy thing is, like I said before, the US killed hundreds of thousands of people, destabilized the entire region of the Middle East, yet Americans suffer little to no consequences for what we did. What other country can get away with that? I am the Geo Husar, and this is not a positive post about the United States. It's just something to get you guys thinking. Thanks for watching.